Hello, everyone. This is Thomas Pepin, NHL Talk. I'm Thomas Pepin, and let's talk about the NHL. In today's stream, we'll do a recap of the third week of the NHL season, a number of different subjects, which you can see the list in the description there. Likewise, all the links to all the sources if you want to read anything further. So a lot of times I'll just kind of breeze through some subjects, some more than others, some less than others. In other words, I'll speak more to certain subjects. But in any case, those, if you need to go, or if you're interested in learning more about different topics or events, you can have a look at those links to find more information. So we'll be going over all the main headlines, likewise suspensions, injuries, waiver claims, signings, trades, scores, standings, and stat leaders, if applicable, for all those. So anyways, let's get to it. So just a moment to pull things up and share screen. So, first topic is, and this should be in chronological order. Depending on the subject, I might bunch things together. To be honest, I should have bunched all the retirements together, but whatever. Anyways, in some cases, I'll just do chronological. So, Plekanec, I can't remember how it's pronounced, but anyways, so he's retired. And actually, one thing I hadn't planned on looking at was his stats. So not really his stats. So what I'm actually interested in is where he's. So okay, that's what it is. So I was interested in where he's been playing, and so he's been in the Czech League since he played last in Montreal. So it must have been during COVID. He basically just went elsewhere. No, because when did COVID start? It was. I forget. Anyways, I don't really even care, to be honest. So, long story short, he went away and played in the Czech League. Did quite well, actually. Nearly a point per game in most of his seasons. And so he's announced his retirement from from professional hockey. So, due to health reasons, I didn't see that. So, that means he's done completely. Decent enough career, was an important player when he played, but nothing of huge significance. In any case, he's retired. Oh, I did bunch it together. I didn't think that I did. So, talking about retirement, Joe Thornton officially retires. Nice beard. That's about it on that article. Otherwise, his next step in his hockey career is to help manage Canada at the Spengler Cup, according to this here. So co-GM for the Spengler Cup. So I guess, well, I'm interested to see what he's actually going to do with his career, given that he's getting into management. I wonder if that's what his plans are in the long run. Of course, we'll see, but interesting to think about what he's going to turn out being moving forward. Next, probably, I would argue, if not the biggest news story, probably close to it. So, did I? Give me a sec here. I thought I spoke of this. Elsewhere. Maybe not. Okay, because I think what it was, so I probably hadn't thought about bookmarking it, and then give me a sec and I'll explain. When did it happen? October 29? When was that? Well, give me 1 second. I'm just going to add this to the description here, because I think it's, well, obviously it's relevant to the subject. Just bear with me here. That's going to go here. Oops. Oh, stupid thing. I'm trying to move this link to another spot, and it keeps preventing me from doing it. Okay, there we go. I should be okay. There. I mean, I could have done this after the stream, but whatever. I'm going to do it now. Also, before I forget, because I forgot, I was going to add some links to the earlier stream from today, and I forgot to do that. And I especially don't want to forget to add in the important context to the whole discussion. I just could have sworn I had mentioned it elsewhere. Maybe what it, like I said, maybe what it was is I was going to not include it because it wasn't technically NHL, but it became relevant to the NHL. Anyways, okay, so minimize that. There we go. Okay. All right. So I guess this is probably the better way to start the subject. So, because we need the context. So, well, you can see from the title, Adam Johnson died after being cut by a skate playing in the English Hockey League. What's the name of the league? Elite Ice Hockey League, EIHL. Um, Now, I don't know all the details. To be honest, I don't know if it's all that relevant. Just unfortunate for. I don't know if there's been any other hockey deaths. So during the game, I think there's been at least a few. I just can't remember offhand. But, anyways, it hasn't happened for a while. If it has, I don't think. I don't know for sure. And, of course, my apologies to anybody who would have died recently playing hockey. But, anyways, so this is a story. That's the whole kind of root cause of the discussion. So what the discussion is right now is, given that this hockey player died from a skate cut, it's brought up the debate over wearing neck guards in hockey in general, and then as a result across pretty much all leagues. So that's kind of the context to the big discussion. And so as a result of this injury, the English Ice Hockey Association is making neck guards mandatory in 2024. So that's the first, my understanding, it's the first thing that took place to make them mandatory. The next one after that was the Western Hockey League, so that's in Canada, junior hockey. They are making them mandatory. Yeah, so it's going into effect essentially immediately, or as soon as protective equipment is available to all clubs. So also, another development. You would think, wait, I was going to say something and I might actually be wrong. So I haven't played organized youth hockey since I was a kid. And I don't know if it's mandatory in youth hockey everywhere. I think it is. But I don't know for sure. In any case, if it isn't, it very well should be. It says here both the OHL and QMJHL have mandatory neck guards. So essentially across all junior hockey in Canada, it's going to be mandatory. Now, the reason, so going back to the first article that I just added back into the description there for context. So the reason I wasn't going to talk about that is because I don't really intend to talk at all about other leagues other than the NHL, because it's just, there would be too much about everything. And where do you decide to draw the line of what you're going to talk about? So I was cutting it always to be the NHL. I don't know if I should talk about this as well. Just give me a second and move this over here. So anyway, so that's kind of the reason for all that. And I'm just basically mentioning all these to get to the point that the NHL strongly recommends using neck guards now. So there's that, and then there's discussions with the NHLPA about making them mandatory. I don't know if I am going to... So I was debating about doing my earlier in the day stream for next week talking about neck guards. So I'm just debating on if I want to talk about that now. So, actually, this is a good point to bring it up. So as always, this stuff is done on the spot, no prep work except for the subject. And in this case, all the links. I don't necessarily even read through the information. Again, it's more just to provide you the headlines. So, because I was going to talk about other things related to protective equipment. So, you know what? So the plan, I was going to do a different subject next week. I think next week I'm going to talk about protective equipment in the NHL. So I won't talk about, give my opinion and discuss things further at this point. Basically, just going to give you the information that there was the unfortunate death, a bunch of leagues bringing in mandatory neck guards, NHL discussing bringing in neck guards. So, again, won't give my opinion at this point. I'll discuss it in greater depth, or in any amount of depth, in the next stream, alongside other things related to protective equipment and things like that. So that's that. Again, unfortunate with the passing. Condolences out to the family. And it just sucks. So that's that story. I didn't put them all together. I guess it was chronological. So another retirement, Stastny retired. So this one was surprising to me because I thought he had more life in him. From what I saw, and I don't know if this is necessarily the case, it seemed like his pace of game had slowed. I didn't watch last season, but I had watched him with the Jets on a few occasions, and he looked like he was a bit slow. Smart player, skilled player, but just seems slow. Whoops. I think it says his stats there, but I kind of want to look at... let's do this instead. So last season, 22 points in 73 games with the Hurricanes. Now, I don't know what his role was, but I'm assuming it was probably, at best, third line, probably fourth line. So he's been around maybe half a point per game, just shy of half a point per game over recent years. Again, a decent player. Now, what I was wondering, and this is why I wanted to bring up this link as opposed to a different one, like Hockey DB or something like that. So I wanted to see what his cap hit was, because I was thinking maybe it's that he was asking for too much money and he couldn't find a team and then he retired. So something I spoke about earlier today in the previous stream was about how there's a whole bunch of different factors to why somebody might not be signed. It could be they're asking for too much money, the team doesn't have enough money, they could be looking for specific teams. Those particular teams might not have enough money, stuff like that. So he probably would have been able to find a team if he was at $1 million or less, but in all likelihood, he just wasn't of interest, or he decided he didn't want to play. I don't know which is the case. But usually, if you announce your retirement right now, it would be probably because you didn't make any teams. I don't know if he played in the preseason. Was he signed to a tryout? Good question. Doesn't look like it. I don't think he was because I don't remember seeing his name. But, um, anyways, so whoops, I didn't want to go right there yet. But so it looks as though I don't know. It could have been anything. The reason for his retirement, but I thought he would have more time in him. Was still producing at well at least at the very least a quarter of a point per game, which is quite reasonable. Why you wouldn't want to play fourth line minutes because the thing is he was good enough defensively that he could have played a defensive role. So you would think he would have been able to find a team, and he wasn't crazy old. I think it said 37. So, anyways, I was just surprised that he retired of all people. So, for example, Thornton, he would have been productive, but he the combination of age and productivity, he probably wouldn't have been able to play. Plekanec, he clearly wasn't going to play in the NHL. But Stastny, I was a bit surprised about. I thought he would have at least one more year left in him. So, just surprising to see that he retired. But there's the news. He did retire. Otherwise, as you can see here, Flames halt extension talks with Hanifin and Lindholm. So that, well, you can actually see it here. Amid the club's poor start to the campaign. So, I don't know what their record is at this exact moment because this was 3 days ago. But in all likelihood, it's well, actually, I was going to say in all likelihood it's, and then give multiple reasons. In which case, it can't be. It would be likely that it could be anything. So what's the point in listing things? So whether they're stopping because they're not going to be able to agree to terms, or if they're because they're not playing well, they're thinking about rebuilding. Who knows? But long story short, the important news piece is the fact that they're not currently going to be talking with them, which those are a couple important pieces to the team. And so, for example, if those two players were not with the team, then man, Calgary's not going to look good. So already they're not the most outstanding team, and then you drop those two important players, and they're already basically a bubble team, and then now you're basically making your team unlikely to make the playoffs. So unless you make some other additions, but if these guys aren't signed and you get nothing out of them, then the team's just no good. So who knows if they're going to trade for useful pieces or do a rebuild or what exactly is going to happen. But I think it's an interesting news piece. Combine the two words. Just something to monitor, basically. Another funny thing, not funny, but more unfortunate. Backstrom was apparently annoyed by the fact that he was getting asked if he was healthy, and then surely enough, he has to take time away from the game related to his injury. So clearly didn't heal it, didn't repair it and heal enough, or it's just too bad of an injury and he won't be able to play. So if I had to take a guess, maybe he'll come back and play a few games or something like that, but I would be surprised if he plays another season based on what's happened. So, uh, yeah, unfortunate for him, unfortunate for the sport in a sense, definitely for the team, because he was a good player, really useful player, and so just sucks across the board about his injury and stuff. But it's that's the thing. Some players, they get stuck with these injuries, and you just hope that you don't get stuck with some long term injury that makes you retire early or prevents you even from making the NHL and stuff. So it's just unfortunate, but you get dealt what you get dealt, so it just sucks. That's that. Now this next piece is kind of tied with the next one after that. So the Senators are going to be forfeiting their first round pick in one of the next 3 seasons. And so do 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 actually, I won't use this article anymore because it doesn't give good enough information. So this next one actually, I think, explains it. So Dorian, the other part of the piece of news is that Dorian is or has been fired as GM of the Ottawa Senators, and Staios is going to be interim GM. So it explains here. So Dorian's firing came on the heels of Ottawa being docked a first round draft choice for the club's role in an invalidated trade in 2022 between Dadonov and Ducks. Blah blah blah. Where does it say? Or did I read it somewhere else? Give me a sec. There we go. Okay, so Ottawa is only now having to forfeit a first-round draft choice in either blah 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 as punishment stemming from their 2021 trade of Dadonov to Vegas Golden Knights, where Ottawa failed to inform Vegas that Dadonov's contract included a 10-team no-trade clause. That caused the Golden Knights' subsequent trade attempt of Dadonov to the Ducks to be invalidated. And then otherwise, the current owner is upset about the fact that he's had to inherit this problem. So, clearly a mistake from the GM. By how that could have been made, like how that mistake could have been made, is surprising for somebody who's supposed to be competent in, and with the number of positions that should have been able to verify the information, ensure that everything was communicated appropriately, all that kind of stuff. I would fire multiple people, anybody else that would have been involved, if you're going to fire one guy. I don't know if it was a trade deadline thing, and then as a result you're under a time crunch and you just forget to do something. I don't know, and to be honest, it's not even all that relevant whether you're under a time crunch or not. You should have clearly communicated everything. They should have asked for that information as well, so it's both sides, I would say, are at fault. But I do agree with the new owner being upset about it. The fact that it's taken so long for the punishment to come into effect and he has had to inherit that. I mean, of the purchase of the team, it's not a huge value of the value of the team. So, yes, it's an asset that you lose, and the team is your asset, so it's a portion of the value that you're losing that you were not made aware of since it was only decided now. So yeah, it's kind of shady on the league's part, and it's kind of annoying for the owner, but I don't know if it's all that significant. And would he not have, like, what he would have taken off $500,000 in the valuation of the team, or whatever you're going to determine the value of that was? I mean, for me, it's like, I get why you would complain. I would as well. Like if I was the new owner, but I think it's just stupid across the board. Everybody, league with the late punishment, owner being, and well, publicly, I guess it's fair to publicly say it, but it just seems like he's too fussed about it. I don't know. Firing the GM, yeah. See, that's where I would put the Golden Knights at some blame, because you gotta, if you didn't know, it's like buyer's remorse kind of thing, if you've ever heard the term. So it's a term in, what is it, what is the, there's so many different areas of business as a subject, because that's what I studied. So consumer behavior, I think it's under consumer behavior. Anyways, yeah, just buyer's remorse is you regret having made a purchase, and then you try to somehow correct it. And so sometimes, like, well, the purchase was made, unless it invalidates the terms of the purchase, the contract, however you want to put it. I guess that could be true, but in any case, I just think across the board, everybody made a bunch of mistakes, and it's just kind of stupid. But, and like, why would you get, it's got to be somewhere in the rule book you would get punished with this type of punishment. But the only thing that I think is correct is firing the GM, because to have made that mistake, and like I said, I would fire anybody that was involved in making the mistake, because that's, how can you make that mistake? Again, both sides should ask questions about the mistake, but it's just something that, if you're competent in your position, should never have happened. So anyways, kind of my thoughts on that. And it's funny because I talk about something like this that most people probably wouldn't be normally interested in, and something that I would be most interested in. So anyways, it's like I've said, the topics that interest me the most are things related to management and all that kind of stuff. So clearly this is why I would get into this, or like overall strategy, or league direction and direction of the sport and things like that. That's all the kind of stuff that I'm most interested in. So anyways, so that's that. Coach Cronin fined for unprofessional conduct, $25,000. Don't really have much more to say than that. It's because, so they only sold, what was it, 10% minority interest in Montreal Canadiens for $2.5 billion is a lot. So to be honest, because it's only 10%, that's why I didn't want to talk about it, but just let you know that it happened. And that, I believe, brings us to the regular things that I cover on a weekly basis. So just give me 1 sec to get that stuff pulled up here. What do we have? So suspensions. I should have had this pulled up earlier, but I was late to get on stream to begin with, so just wanted to at least get started. So injuries. There's waivers. Signings. Trades. Scores. I'm going to use a different source for standings than the NHL. Then stat leaders. I think that's everything. Suspensions, injuries, waiver claims, signings, trades, scores, standings, stats. Okay, so good, that's pulled up. All right, so suspensions. Clifton suspended 2 games for illegal check to the head of Heischer. Did I not cover this last week? I guess it happened just after. Yeah, it happened just after last week's. So anyways, 2 games. It's more, again, this is more informational rather than me saying anything about it. McAvoy suspended 4 games for illegal check to the head on Ekman Larson, and he's appealed that. Don't know the result of it yet, but again, informational. Whatever the result is, there's not much to say. Otherwise, last Friday was there. So we'll have a look at some of the bigger injuries. So really, I only will comment or draw attention to anything that's a month or more. Anything less should be short term or can be considered short term. So a month from now would be December-ish. So Shabbat is out until December 1st, it says. Barabanov, the Sharks, December 5th, approximately. Burakovsky, December 2nd, from Seattle. Leonard, the fact that they're bringing it up means something must have been spoken about regarding him. January 1st, so I guess maybe he could theoretically play. Weren't they deep enough? Give me a sec here. Because I thought as it was they had 3 goalies. But maybe they didn't re-sign one? I can't remember. Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson. No, so yeah. I forget who the third one was. But anyway, so maybe Leonard does come back. Who knows? But like I said, since it's been updated, maybe it is possible he plays. I don't know. And then that's it of any longer term injuries. So those are the injuries from the week. No waiver claims to report. Signings. I guess the only ones were Heinen, Boston, 1 year, 775,000. So that's an example of the remaining free agents. It could turn out being something like that. That would make sense. Gagne, same contract but 2-way. So with Edmonton, Sam Gagne. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if any number or some majority of the players that are available, if they are to be signed, it's probably going to be something like this. League minimum, I'm assuming, is the salary. So, yeah. But clearly, I guess Gagne has some life in him still. 2 points in 1 game. 5 points in 3 games in the AHL this season. 14 points in 48 the previous season with the Jets. So, I mean, clearly, well, what I would argue is probably he played well enough in the AHL that they decided to upgrade his contract to allow him to play in the NHL. So, and then Heinen, I don't know exactly what his situation was, but was he on? Standard contract. So I don't know if he was on a tryout or what exactly was going on, but anyways, he signed there for a year. No trades that have happened. Games from the past week. Again, I mean, if you're interested in all the scores, you can have a look at yourself. To be honest, all I really want to, I'll draw attention to like big scores or things like that. Oh yeah, I think this was the Oilers beating the Flames. I think that was the Heritage whatever outdoor game. Maybe that's significant to you. Not so much to me. It's just another game. 8-1 Coyotes beating Blackhawks is kind of funny. Both teams are miserable. But that's pretty lopsided. There's another one I know. There it is. So Canucks beating the Sharks 10-1. Yikes. Oh, one thing I didn't check. And actually, since it's the only one I'm going to pull up, I'll just go right to it. What I want to see is what happened with the goalies. So both goalies did a miserable job. Kakkonen, 6 goals in 19 shots. Blackwood, 4 goals in 14. Yikes. This, I think I'm going to have to add to the description for future streams. The NHL website with giving the wildcard standings, now it has it on a daily basis, and you have to update the day, so you can't just see, it doesn't just tell you immediately what the standings are. Well, I mean, it will update to the current day, but the fact is, if you bookmark that, it saves it as a day. Like, I can actually show you. Where is it here? So you see how in the web address, it has the date 11/3. So, well, I guess technically it's 11/4, the date. But anyways, so if you bookmark this and you try to go back, it's going to bring you back to this date. And it's like, I don't want to know what it was last time I checked. I want to know what it is now. So anyways, I think it's stupid, which is why I bookmarked this other one. It just, the format is kind of what I prefer. So it just so happens that it's what the Boston, it was there, Boston Globe. So anyways, these are the current standings. So Boston, Detroit, Toronto. Oh, that's something I was going to do. Give me 1 second here. I forgot I wanted to always compare to my standings, my predicted standings. So give me a sec to pull that up. Eastern Conference, Atlantic Division. There we go. So I had Toronto to be in first, Bruins second, Panthers third, Lightning fourth. Currently, Boston is in first, which I'm not so surprised. Again, it's small sample size. It's 1/8 of the season, basically. Detroit to be in second, I'm not surprised. I mentioned this in my predictions before the season that I could easily see Detroit making the playoffs. And I also basically said I think the Panthers are more or less a lock, but it could be anybody between Lightning, Senators, Red Wings, even Sabres. But then I don't think Canadians have a shot. So anyways, so what is that? 2 for 3, basically, in those positions. And then I'm not far off on Florida. Tampa, not far off. Ottawa's, I mean, it's not crazy far off from what I was expecting because they're all interchangeable. Likewise for Sabres. So, pretty close enough there. Metropolitan, I had Rangers third. They're in first. New Jersey, I had missing. They're in second. Islanders, I had second. They're in third. So that's, again, 2 for 3. Pretty close to what I was expecting. Carolina to be in a wild card spot. I mean, it's early. Things can change quick enough. So, yeah, so that's not far off either. Any other things to note? Oh, just that Pittsburgh's way at the bottom. I wasn't, because they haven't had big injuries. That's the only way I would have guessed that they would be doing so poorly. And yeah, just a bad start. But again, it's 1/8 of the season. Things can change dramatically. And eventually, I'm going to do a stream just talking about how it's way down the line that you really get to knowing if a team's going to make the playoffs or not. So anyways, so again there, I'm not far off on my predictions. Funny enough, Philly was at the top, and then now they're right back to where you would expect them to be. So again, pretty darn close to what I was predicting in the East. Moving over to the West, Central Division. Dallas in first. It's exactly what I was expecting. I really do think they're a lock and a really good shot at winning a cup. I feel most strongly about them. Hurricanes is another team that I think has a really good chance. There's a bunch of other teams that are all competitive, but in particular Dallas in it. So I'm very much not surprised by how they're doing. Colorado to be in second. I have them in third. Arizona to be in third. A bit higher, a lot higher than what I was expecting. So, but I mean, their record's not that great, so you could easily see them drop out. Where I am, I guess, maybe close to wrong or pretty wrong, is the Blues. They're a bit further down. Winnipeg's more or less exactly where I was expecting. So pretty close on those predictions as well. And then going over to the Pacific, Vegas in first. That's exactly what I was expecting. They're going to be competitive. I just think there's got to be some sort of Stanley Cup hangover. I can't see them winning back-to-back, although their team's very similar. So they have a really good shot. I just can't see it. They're not as strong as Tampa was in their back-to-backs, in my opinion. Otherwise, the Oilers are doing miserably. I had them in second. They're way down the line. Mind you, it looks like the West is kind of weak. So, for example, Arizona to be in third with 11 points in 10 games is not very good. So, lots of opportunity there. Kings, I had to be in third. They are, in fact, in third. Vancouver's doing very well, which is surprising to me. But again, some teams have these fantastic starts and then just completely drop off the map. So, a great example, well, what was it, through 5 games? Philly was towards the top and then right down to the bottom again. So, I predicted Vancouver to be a cup competitor a couple years ago, and then they didn't live up to my expectations. Now, they've still got some of the pieces, but I don't think it's nearly as good as when I thought they were going to do better, and they did poorly. So I would predict that they would do even more poorly now, but you never know. The league's really close, so who knows what could happen with them. Flames not doing well. Same thing as the Oilers, like I said already. And then pretty much everybody else is kind of close enough to what I was expecting. Sharks at the bottom, as I was expecting. There is a pun in there. Sharks at the bottom. So that is the standings. We can get rid of this. Quickly here, point leaders. We got Hughes, Pedersen, Bratt, Hughes again, Quinn Hughes, defenseman. Wow, that's quite good. So that means he's clearly the point leader for defenseman. Panarin's up there. That's pretty good. Miller, surprisingly, but not surprisingly given that the team's done well. Larkin, Rantanen, Pasternak, Nylander. Defenseman Hughes, as we mentioned, Makar. Like a lot of point per game defenseman, which is, for me, kind of surprising. The league's kind of changed where defensemen do produce a lot more. So it went from lots of production back in the 90s to a lot lesser, and then now it's kind of getting back up where defensemen are producing a lot. Now, I don't have data to back me up, but I'm pretty sure that's kind of the way things have gone. So anyways, Hughes, Makar, Fox, Hronek. See, and that's why I don't know if I like the fact that Detroit got rid of him, but anyways. Sider, Sanheim, Theodore, Dobson, Bouchard, and Chychrun. Bouchard, even on an Oilers team that's not playing well, he's still got a lot of points, so... rookies, Cooley, Brink, Grieg, Minchukov, Luke Hughes, which is to me surprising, but clearly that family has some good genes. Bedard, watch, 6 points in however many games. How many games is it? Is it 8 or something? 9? Not a good picture for him. Fantilli tied with him, funny enough. Evangelista, Rossi, and Poitras. And then last, goalies. I don't like goals against average, so we'll ignore that. Some crazy high numbers, but it's still early in the league. I'm not going to bother going through them because I don't think they're representative. You don't really get an idea until goalies start to play like 20. And that's even not many games, more towards 40, but not a lot of goalies play more than 40. So, so in particular, Quick doing well in New York, which good for him, good for New York. That's about it. So I think that brings us up to date for the week. Again, a lot of it's just for information. I don't watch things so closely anymore. In particular, actually, even with sports betting, I don't think I necessarily did, because all my predictions were before the season. So, yeah, so again, this is for somebody like myself that really likes hockey. It's just that, you're going to be checking the news daily. You're going to be spending a lot of time on it. Not really. So this way, it just saves you having to look at it daily. Just check in once a week for ballpark an hour, and that gives you all the information you need to know to be up to speed. So yeah, so we'll leave it there. If you, before I do that, actually, I should say, um, yeah. So next Friday, the first stream of the day, I am going to talk about protective equipment, and then we'll postpone unless there's another news story that I want to talk about the following week. But the next time, we'll finally, hopefully, maybe talk about the likelihood of making the playoffs based on your number of points at different points during the season. I think it's a very interesting topic. It's just that one can be talked about whenever. These other ones, they're recent. And so, for example, today I maybe should have talked about protective equipment, but I was going to talk about other protective equipment anyways. So this kind of just blends into something I was going to talk about later, and I don't mind postponing it. So yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about next Friday, whatever the time is. I think it's 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Anyways, you can check the channel homepage; it'll tell you when that is. And then, as always, the week recap for the midnight stream. So, yeah. So if you like the stream, hit the like button, share with your friends, subscribe, turn on notifications. Already spoke about upcoming streams on the channel homepage. For things I can't schedule ahead of time, like franchise mode, that schedule's in the About section of the channel. Runs Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Be a pros whenever I have time or feel like it. Again, I felt like it, and I really wish I could play. I just haven't had the time. Any comments, leave them in the comments. Suggestions likewise, and we will see you guys. Today is Friday, so Sunday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern with franchise mode. Yeah, that's it. Okay, bye.